Mindfulness is not another thing to add to your to-do list. It's something that's going to help you move through your to-do list better. It's about redirecting your attention. You don't need a different mind to meditate or practice mindfulness. You just need a different relationship to your mind. So when crazy comes to me and I can't shake it, I think I have a different way that I'm going to like ground and root myself instead of getting like lost in the thick of what the mind produces.
Howdy, and welcome to the show. Cooper's Code focuses on legal issues and notable practitioners, distilling wisdom so we can all achieve the best results for our clients. I'm Miles Cooper, and I'm very excited for this conversation with Jessica Samples. Jessica is a San Francisco-based mindfulness teacher, coach, and group facilitator, and the founder of CoCreate Calm.
When I meditate or go on a silent meditation retreat, which is like meditating hard all the time from the bell to like going to sleep, I am taking it as training. I'm in a marathon that is a training situation. I'm training in meditation so that my daily life can be more of choice and with more ease.
That takes us in the direction that I was planning on asking next. And you talked about having a lot of tools in the toolbox. Mm-hmm. And with somebody with your breadth of experience, it doesn't surprise me that you have a lot of tools accessible to you. Can you provide kind of an outline of the types of tools that you might personally have access to, and the types of tools that somebody might want to work on developing to have access to more tools?
Yeah. I want to remind you that I started this journey with my therapist bringing the word anxiety to me as if that had anything to do with my life. So I was living with dis-ease and I was like suffering. So from there, it was reading a book. It was listening to a podcast. It was trying a small micro practice. It was looking out into my community and trying a meditation, like a meditation group, just seeing what was out there. And then from there, there are like body-based tools. So bringing awareness into all the different parts of the body. There are movement or somatic practices that I do with people, including the floss, like in group. I have been known to bring in the floss dance move because it is like exquisitely powerful at dissolving stress. So they just grow your possibilities. I mean, creativity. Some people do mindful drawing. I'm in contact with a mindful artist. We do mindful eating sometimes in a group. Oh, I was going to bring you a raspberry. Just taking slow, moment by moment pleasure in eating something. I mean, another invitation, if you're listening, is the next time you go to drink your morning beverage, if you do tea or if you do coffee, or maybe it's like a meal, but just taking that first sip mindfully. So it's like holding your mug, feeling the warmth in your hands or coolness, whatever you're doing, smelling, looking, like really inviting the senses in, and then taking that first sip. And before you're swallowing it, like let it stay in the mouth and you'll feel the saliva and like the instinct to swallow and like get to the next one. It feels endless. I'm still learning. I go to trainings all the time. More tools than life to learn them.
What you just described, the idea of sipping slowly and focusing, sounds wonderful. And I am a gulper and a shoveler when it comes to food. I typically am thinking about the, 8 things with a firm 15 things with cases, something with the kids. And if I slowed, this is the argument against being present.
Yeah. Okay.
And the question here is going to be, if our lives are so busy and we're at a point in our life where it's really not feasible to be anything other than busy.
Yeah.
Meaning dual income family, kids, sports, all the stuff. How does that mesh with what you just described in terms of being present without getting into yet a new area of judgment?
Yeah. So first of all, my life would fall apart if I drank my 2 cups of tea every morning that way.
Okay.
I am inviting you to try that first sip as a way to experience a variety of practices. Second, if your life is working for you in a deep sense, as far as you feel like you have a lot of choice in the way you respond to your loved ones in difficult conversations, your work, your art, your community, like whatever you're doing, if you feel like you're in your window of tolerance, way more than not, it sounds like you're rocking it. This, don't dwell, don't force, don't push here. I'm speaking to like the one person in your audience who might feel like there's something here for you.
I don't think that most of us feel that they're rocking it. I think what they feel, that there's a line that's attributed to Abraham Lincoln. We're chopping wood so fast we don't have time to stop to sharpen the axe.
Yeah.
And that idea of, well, I love the idea of being more present and being more mindful. I just don't have time to do it.
Yeah.
Because I got all this stuff. And life, quite honestly, isn't working for me. I'm not particularly happy. I'm snapping at the kids. I'm speaking hypothetically. Yeah. Kids, don't listen to this part. So, because my kids really listen to the podcast, right? Right. So I think a lot of people don't feel like things are working for them and are worried about bringing on yet a new thing.
I feel that. So I was on a call this week with an institute at UCLA and Dr. Holly Rogers, who created the MIA curriculum. And she was sharing that she tells people that mindfulness is not another thing to add to your to-do list. It's something that's going to help you move through your to-do list better. An example is I worked with someone who was really, their body and mind was resistant to 10 minutes of meditation, to 5 minutes, to 3 minutes. And so he started with 30 seconds. And made a spreadsheet. He told me this later, but made a spreadsheet so that many, many months into the year, he would be at the 10-minute mark. So would sit for 30 seconds. I think that even you would have 30 seconds to pause, to unclench one of the clenched things.
I agree that I have 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Where I find challenge is the discipline. And I find that strange to say because I don't have discipline problems in anywhere else in my life. Mm-hmm. If I say I'm going to be at the gym at 5 a.m, I'm at the gym at 5 a.m.
I believe that.
If I try and quiet my mind, mm-hmm. It's almost like reverb.
Yeah. Well, that's like the 2.5 seconds in my teenage bedroom. When we did this little micro practice, I didn't say anything about clear your mind.
True.
I didn't say stop thinking. And you will never hear anything like that from me. It's about redirecting your attention. And we redirected it to parts of the body that are clenched with a gentle invitation in which you were in total choice to see if 1% more you could release and soften. So given that you've just experienced that, if you didn't do that for yourself in the next week, which is give yourself a little like detox of the poison. If you didn't do that in the next week, that's like something to be curious about, not shameful about. Right. And when you work with someone who's tailoring practice to you, to your resistance, like there's something there to be curious about. And there is a way to work with the part of you that is not wanting to do that. I have no idea, but I'm going to offer a couple of possibilities, things that I see. It could be that the clenched miles, I mean, I know it's there for a reason. It is protective. And maybe it's not ready, wanting, or interested in actually softening. You're not interested in getting rid of that at a fundamental level. And that's totally, up to you. No judgment. There are all kinds of ways to experience present moment experiencing, but to experience your life. That's what it is. To experience these moments of your life more and more and more. And if you're resistant, well, maybe you should do some research and find someone who could help you, bring it in a little bit more over time.
When you talk about bringing somebody in, earlier on in our conversation, you talked about sometimes bringing in someone who, more on the therapy side, it sounded like.
A tool, framework.
When somebody has, their mind keeps going to the same place, bringing up, I would say perhaps old traumas or old incidents that have not been fully worked through.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of tool that you're talking about potentially?
Potentially. I am not a licensed clinician, and IFS, internal family systems, parts work, is offered in other ways. So my training specifically around IFS is in trauma sensitive mindfulness. So we would, only with your blessing, but what I would invite is getting into practice. I'd ask you about your intention. Did you do what you wanted to do the week before? Maybe 5 minutes, 3 times a week of unclenching. Maybe that's what your commitment was. And then you say, no, I didn't. I know you're a very disciplined person. And so with your blessing, we would explore the part of you that was resistant. And in my experience, there are such good reasons, such old reasons. And sometimes people are really surprised, as they get in touch with the resistant parts of them, and they can soften and shift and change.
And I know you come at this from a mindfulness perspective, not a clinician's perspective.
Yes.
But with that as backdrop, can you help our listeners understand what internal family systems is?
Yes. I will do that. First, I want to say how it interacts with mindfulness and meditation in my world. Sometimes observing the mind, we talked about observing mind, watching the thoughts. Sometimes that is not enough to, I don't want to say get back into your window, but here I am saying it. That's not enough over time. So something is sticky and has to be worked with. So internal family systems is a framework created by Richard Schwartz, where you look at an individual, not as like a unified whole, like I'm looking at Miles, you right now. Mm-hmm. You're not just this unified whole. You're actually like a multiplicity of parts. And maybe I'll turn it on myself. This morning, my alarm went off and I knew that I was going to join my cold dipping group in the bay. So this is like 20 minutes in the bathing suit before 7 a.m. this morning in the water. And part of me loves it. And part of me was like, no, I want to stay in bed. So even in that simple showing, you could see my parts and like one, I'm not going to tell you which one, but one out. And so the process is getting to know the parts that are resistant or the parts that are, like we all have habits of mind. And so the parts that are like really, reoccurring, if they're not helpful, not supportive. So it's like then coming into a relationship. I mean, it's a long process, but it's coming into literally direct contact with that part, asking it questions, like really growing a relationship. And there is Dick's most recent book, I think, is called No Bad Parts. So I just want to say that we're never trying to get rid of a part. There's no part that's bad. It's more about learning what it's up to, what it's protecting, what it thinks would happen if it didn't resist.
That all makes sense. Bring up the cold plunge.
Yeah.
I want to follow that thread just for a second because it makes me curious if you consider that to be part of your mindfulness practice, or your meditation practice, or just a completely different thing.
It is part, I call it, of my personal practice. It for sure is part of my mindfulness practice. And like maybe if you asked me a month ago, I would have said there was or a year ago, I would have said it was a meditation. So like I am not feeling like committed to the labels, but it is a deep personal practice that I have when I am out there in the water, Golden Gate Bridge, Angel Island, Alcatraz, certain parts of the year, watching the sun rise over the city from the water. There is nothing but awe, physical sensation, and like, some panic, like all your body goes through a lot of phases. But I did this not because I like getting up early. Nobody does. When I tell people about this, they're like, oh, well, I don't like to get up early. I don't like cold water. Guess what? None of us do out there. I will share that this came into my life during a few years ago, where I took the window of tolerance to my personal life. And I asked myself, it was on my birthday. I did not wake up thinking I was going to ask myself this question, but I said, can I actually tolerate my life? And I have a beautiful life. So I said, I don't know. I'm going to not drink for an entire year. And I don't really do anything else. So that meant 100% sober every waking minute of my life. And I was just kind of going to see what happened. Like, can I tolerate it? And about a month in, I think I was like needing some higher highs. Someone invited me to this group and I was like, I need a new high. I need something. Because this is it's like too something. I don't even want to put a word. I was like rattled. So I was like, yes, I will wake up earlier than I am not a 5 a.m. person. I will wake up whenever I need to wake up. I will put on a bathing suit and I will jump in cold water because that's what I needed. And now, that forced presence in the body, the mind, hearing the seagulls, hearing my friends chat. I'm usually more out there because it is more of a practice for me. It's one of my favorite mindfulness practices. Yeah.
You make getting up in the dark and going out in cold water sound very engaging.
It's not, as we are recording this, it is spring. It is not dark yet when I go. So you are invited.
In a similar vein, you've mentioned on a couple of occasions doing silent retreats. Mm-hmm. And while I have on one side said that I find meditation very challenging because of my busy mind, on the other side, because why go for a jog when you can go for a marathon? I have heard of silent retreats and been very interested in the notion of having silence and focus for that long. Mm-hmm. Can you help our listeners understand what it is like for that kind of an experience? And is it the kind of experience that somebody, like, oh, I listened to a podcast on mindfulness. I want to be mindful. I'm off to a silent retreat. So how did you find yourself doing that? And why do you do it every year?
Yeah. I want to start by saying that when I'm on a silent meditation retreat, even last summer, so I do this in the summertime, when I was on my last 10-day silent meditation retreat, the video screen of my mind and watching my thoughts absolutely horrified me. And for about 3 days, I was having a really difficult time. The mind doesn't stop thinking. And when you go on a retreat and take out all of the ways we distract ourselves, I turn in my phone. You're not supposed to, where I go, you're not supposed to bring a book or a journal, but I do cheat because I get some really good ideas I hide my journal and I like, it's gold that it sometimes comes out and that's important to me. And there's no report card at the end. And so I make it mine. But I, even with my training and my years of practice and doing this every summer, I get blown away by the wildness of my mind. What I'm hoping for this summer is that I will, sort of settle into what I truly believe. And that is that you don't need a different mind to meditate or practice mindfulness. You just need a different relationship to your mind. So when crazy comes to me and I can't shake it, I think I have a different way that I'm going to like ground and root myself, instead of getting like lost in the thick of what the mind produces. I wanted to start there. Why do it? It's kind of like a marathon too. There is, in my experience, there is a point, like a day in, a few days in, several days in, where the nervous system really settles. And this is for me, not for everyone. It's not for everyone. I have kids and work, and a vacation is not a vacation for me if I'm with them.
Right.
To truly be with myself, I need an extended period of time where no one is asking anything of me. And even if I wanted to, there's like literally nothing to do, not even make my own food. So I do that as professional development, personal practice. And I have seen a bus around San Francisco lately. It's an ad. I'm sure AI is involved, but the bus, the language says something like presence is a power move. That's not, I'm sure, what the Buddha intended. It's not like why I do my work, but for people who are curious, like there is a deepening that happens. And then about a month later, it's gone and I'm shouting at my kid through the door.
Yeah. It is reassuring in certain respects to hear that somebody of your caliber still has those engagements on occasion. As you probably guessed from some of my questions, both as hypotheticals for listeners who are going through some of the same things in terms of, I don't have time for this, or it's a little woo-woo, or whatever the piece is. Yeah. Are there any patterns in people's resistance to exploring this that you've come across? Or are there things that people who are considering this should know?
I see resistance around the hell that they imagine silence to be. So I want to affirm that there are ways to practice that don't have silence, don't have a lot of silence. Just as an example, I run an ADHD and mindfulness group on Mondays, and we are moving and we are talking, and people are it's like a freestyle, like a freestyling hour of mindfulness. And the benefits are achieved. So I want to be clear that there's not one right way, not one way to experience this. And I'm like interested in looking for even more. I mean, it's why it's so fun to work with different people. They offer their own way in, and then I bring it to different groups. The other, more resistance. I see people are hesitant, maybe even didn't want to listen to the podcast or started with questions thinking that there would be a religious connection to mindfulness or meditation, certainly in its origins. But there is an enormous body of evidence-based science supporting the secular uses and practices that I'm referring to when we're talking about mindfulness and meditation. So you can experience this world without being religious, or being religious and having it not like interact in a difficult way with mindfulness. Contemplative practices are part of ancient wisdoms of all, I don't want to say of all, of many ancient traditions of human societies.
That's not the first time you brought up the phrase evidence-based practice. And I think you did mention that initially when we were talking about the Koru, now the MIA methodology. When you describe evidence-based practice for our listeners, what does that mean for you and potentially for them in terms of how it might have impact in their lives?
Yeah. For me, when I'm trying on practices, like as a practitioner, I am not interested in the evidence per se. I'm interested in this subject of one and how it interacts with me. And if it gets me to a place or it gives me access to like a part of my life, it could be more subtle joy, more presence, like I'm in for it. I bring in evidence-based because that's like a good signal that this is something to follow. This isn't like fly by seat of pants. These are practices that were studied in a lab, and certain markers resulted in, for example, the MIA curriculum, doing the curriculum, I think it improves sleep. It increases self-compassion and reduces the experience of perceived stress. And there's so much research out there now that there's like a long list. So it's a signal that maybe it's something to try.
Reaching the point of trying, and this kind of goes back to what does it look like with your practice? I know you mentioned you have a group on Mondays for ADHD.
Yeah.
Do you have, if someone was interested in working with you, is it all one-on-one? Do you have group practices? Is it Zoom? Is it in person?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah. For me right now, I meet with people mostly on Zoom. So I work with people one-on-one, and it's basically like 50 minutes a week, same time, generally same day. And it's a place to practice together. We're in conversation. I'm bringing in new tools. There's an intention that you would have for the week, and then we around practice, and then we check in when we meet again. And I'm checking in, not like if you did your homework, home practice, not around shame or you didn't do what you needed to do, but because it's information that you had an intention, there was a desire, and something's getting in the way. And there are external ways to work with that and internal ways, and we go from there. I do have groups on Zoom during the week, and I do offer a quarterly in-person silent day-long meditation retreat. And I do work with some organizations. So sometimes I come in and do like a 5-week intro to mindfulness course. It's evidence-based, secular, just sort of bringing people into practices, some shared language, and then option to practice for a short period of time every week or a little bit longer for stress reduction or like a reset in the afternoon.
A question that arises, and help me redirect if this is the wrong analogy, because everything comes back to the gym for me in certain respects. When you describe the meditation practices being like a workout, is the weekly practice of one-on-one similar to, say, hiring a trainer where you work with the person and then there's a point at which someone knows the routine and can fly free? Yeah. Or is it more in line with, this is a way where for quite some time, somebody is building their toolbox.
Yeah, it is absolutely up to you. I've worked with people for 8 weeks, and at the end they were like, got it. Love it. Still report back. I see them from time to time. Like they figured it out. It worked. I still work with with more than one person who we started working together in 2019. Back in the in-person days. And now we're living in different places and are on Zoom. And then people can come in and out. A toolkit filled with these tools that supported me at this season of my life. Sometimes like maybe before I had kids, and then they have kids, and then they try to come back to practice and everything is like ruptured in a way, in so many ways, but in this way too. So it's just dependent on the person, and it's all, I tailor make the sessions and where we go based on what's up for you and what you want.
Understood. Well, as we kind of come down into final strokes for the session.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on? Any wisdom for listeners? Anything that I didn't ask that you feel we should bring forward?
I would invite you to give a practice a try. 5 minutes, the 2 minutes we did. And if there's something there for you, whether you felt something in your body, something settle in the mind, something unclench, like follow that thread. And you can get 75 things in the way, but don't let them be, my mind can't meditate. My mind is too busy. I can't do this. Mindfulness meditation, it's a skill. It's a skill that any of your listeners can learn. And it's just about finding and troubleshooting a way to practice little bits more and more.
That's very helpful. Well, Jessica, I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for listening today. For those of you who are listening and have found this helpful, I'd ask that you share this episode with a friend. Likewise, if you're enjoying what you're listening to, please give us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. If you have any comments or feedback, please reach out at podcast@coopers.law. And for all of you doing justice out there, happy hunting.